at the executive level, I feel like the burnout process isn't really spoken about that much. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, you got to think about this. Let's just take, XYZ Corporation, and there's the CEO, and then maybe there's, 3 or 4 chief positions, chief operating, chief marketing, chief finance, something like that, right? It gets very narrow at the top. Is what I'm getting at. And so there's a threshold in every organization where when you cross over that threshold, it's now a foot race to that top position. You get to a point in your career where you're like, you know what? I actually might be able to be CEO. I might be able to do that. And so within that threshold, a couple of things happen. First of all, we can have a morality question another time. But first of all, you cross that threshold and your job becomes your master status. It becomes your primary identity because those roles require a 24/7 focus. If you're responsible for thousands of jobs and hundreds of millions of dollars, you don't work a 9 to 5. You don't work 40 hours a week. It's just, there's too many demands. Because like I said, it gets pretty narrow at the top. There's only a few people who can make those certain decisions. So if you have hundreds of decisions to be made every day and they're divided amongst 3 or 4 people, there's a lot of just a huge volume of work to be done. So first of all, you get acclimated to that. And that's part of the indoctrination into the executive suite is, are you willing and are you able and are you ready to make this sacrifice where this job becomes, 51% of your life, if not more?
Which
and people
means
who raise their hands and say yes,
it oftentimes leads to them to believe that they don't have the right to complain, or they don't have the right to speak up and say, "Hey, I'm not aligned with what I'm doing."
This is what it takes. And again, it's so close. Like the big chair is so close. It's just within reach, right? And you're not competing with dozens and dozens of people. You're literally to a spot where you're competing with 6 or 8 people. Man, you start to really weigh and measure yourself in a very specific way.